Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 13th, 2020 Global Troy Advisory Committee meeting. We'll call this meeting to order, and we will call on the roll call from Ms. Sarah Ames.
Okay. All right. Ethan Baker.
Here.
Lisa Bika-Grotsky.
Here.
Mavita Burris.
Here.
Ani Fakori. Caitlin Howe. Allison Liu.
Here.
Saida Mohideen. Carolina Nogues Ortiz.
Here.
Daniel Nacheba.
Here.
Sunil Sakiri. Sunil?
Here.
Great. Arjun Thilakapalli. And then Tom Zhou. Okay.
All right. Well, we are just barely at quorum, but that quorum's quorum, so we can proceed. Welcome, everybody. Good to see Daniela off in another beautiful, picturesque place. I love how she does that. But we have a good conversation agenda this evening, I believe. So first up is the consent agenda regarding the minutes from our last meeting. Did everybody have an opportunity to review those minutes? If so, would someone like to make a motion to approve them?
I motion to approve.
I could second it.
All right, we have a motion from Mavita to approve the minutes from our December 16th, 2020 meeting. It was seconded by Sunil. Any discussion from anyone on these? I will just say these are very thorough minutes, Sarah, so appreciate that. I mean, that's pretty impressive to get our comments down like that. So my hat, I'll clap for that one. My hat's off to you on that. So, all right, the vote then, please.
Okay. Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Mavita.
Yes.
Okay. Carolina.
Yes.
Daniela.
Yes.
And then Sunil.
Yes.
Great.
That motion carries. So we have two items on our regular business agenda this evening. The first one is a discussion regarding Global Troy Advisory Committee event update. So I will hand it back over to Sarah, and you can go ahead and start this conversation.
So at the end of the year, our last meeting, we had talked about the Black History Month subcommittee putting on an event, and then also the Women's Day, International Women's Day event. And I was just wondering if we could go ahead and talk about any updates. If you guys can all let me know if you need help from the city. Me personally, I'm happy to help on any of that. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet, but maybe if you all could give me a bit of an update, if there is one.
So I don't know if this is the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Avita.
Well, I wanted to circle back to you guys. I've been kind of on a treadmill, but I wanted to touch base with you, Sarah, and since we're all here, to see if it's possible for us to schedule a meeting the week of January 20th or 27th. I'll make myself available. What has been done, we did discuss Dr. Teresa Brooks as one of our panelists. I did touch base with a gentleman who was working with the city of Sterling Heights. He sent me their Black History Month agenda and some of the things that they're doing. So I wanted to share with my committee members, which is Mayor Baker and Carolina, and see if any of that resonates with them, what they wanted to do, because I don't want it to just be a Mavita show. Mm-hmm. So they're doing some really great things. They have a panel on February 20th. They're doing some, different events around the city of Sterling Heights. He lives in Sterling Heights. And I was thinking that maybe we could put a call out to our residents, just like they did for MLK Day, to see if they wanted to do like an iconic Black figure, someone who resonated with them, do that video piece, and then potentially do those weekly leading up to the panel. But I do want to schedule that committee meeting as soon as we can, so we can talk about it and then put it out for the public by the end of this month. So those were my updates and what I was thinking.
Okay.
So I can just add to it. So one of the items I thought I was given was to talk to the Black History Museum in downtown. So I did talk to the Charles Wright Museum of African American History, and I talked to a couple of directors there, and they're very willing to work with us with whatever we need, and they work with different cities. They said they not only work with cities, they also can work with other museums in the area that they can collaborate with, and they can have presentations and they can have tours, whatever we choose to do, and they will work with us. Now, some of the suggestions they gave us, I'll just share those with you, and we can talk about them later. So he said, if you want to link things the way between Troy and the African heritage, he said you can have some individuals or homes identify artifacts in their home, and they can talk about how they got those, and then the museum staff then will give you more history or more background of which area of Africa they're from and what's the meaning or whatever those things are, so they can add to it. So it becomes collaborative between the homeowners and some of the people in Troy and the museum staff. So that was one. Second thing they said was they can put together presentation and exhibits on different topics. One topic they gave was very popular, they said, is voting matters. That was one topic they had. Voting matters, and they can then talk about that. Second piece they had talked about was also the richness of Africa was the second topic they had. In richness of Africa, they would have food, traditions, and human DNA, evolution, because it said they have scientific proof to say life pretty much started from Africa. So they can talk about those, the human evolution all the way to traditions of Africa and food. The next thing they said, we have an option of doing MLK sponsorship, and they will then do, they don't need much money because it's been sponsored already by Co-America, but they can we can then have our name as Troy also sponsors MLK and that kind of things. And because that's in January, it's kind of, and I had sent the flyer to Sarah about that presentation. If you want to advertise it in our thing, we could, and they'll be happy to work with us on those. Then moving on to that, they said we can also do during the month of February, which is when the Black History Month is, that they can do an exhibit in the Troy lobby, and the exhibit can be for one day or it can be for a week. If it's for one day, it'll cost us $300, and because some of them are very big, it's pretty much a transportation cost. And the other one is for 1 week, it'll be about $1,000. So that's, and then they can have additional Zoom calls. They can talk about the culture, talk about what's in the exhibits, any of those kind of things. And that talk of an hour would cost us $300. So they have pretty set procedures they're following. Next thing they said was you also have a choice of coming back to in August when they have International Women's Day. In August 9th, during that month, you can do Black history and contributions of Black women and that kind of thing. And that'll be later, but you can also talk about that. And finally, they said they have a very elaborate presentations and talk about Kwanzaa, the principles of Kwanzaa, which is typically they do it in December, but it's African culture, which is made of 7 principles. And the 7 principles being community unity, collective work, self-determination, collective building of the society. All of those are very, very good principles, and they have rituals and details around Kwanzaa. So those were the things they said, and they said, if anything else you guys want, you come back and we'll talk and we can come up with what's good for you. And they seem to be very knowledgeable, working with various communities all over. Actually, they're working all over the country, not just in this area. So they're very well recognized and very well contribute. So that's it. That was my report on Black History Museum.
Yeah, and Sunil, they are working with Sterling Heights too. So they were on the list. Perfect. Yep, they're working with Sterling Heights. I can find out from John exactly what they're doing in Sterling Heights with the DIA and the Charles H. Wright. But he did mention both of the museums were their partners. I do have a question, if you know, or I can ask John, would they want to do like, or do they have, I don't want to say canned presentations, or do they already have some like presentations that we could link to the website that we wouldn't have to pay for?
Yeah, no, there are some presentations which are standard, and you can link to the, as an example, the MLK one is being paid for, and there's a date, it's being paid for by Comerica, and I have the flyer, you could, and we can connect to it. The speaker is charging them, they said $18,000, no, yeah, $18,000, and but we have to pay nothing to link to it, and we can just publicize it, which is fine, which is on that day. And they have other presentations they can do. But if there's anything that they want to work with us and sort of make it more of flavor that we want, then they'll charge you some. But I think they're very reasonable. They are not trying to, they're just trying to cover some basic costs in the process.
$1,000 is a basic cost. Wow.
That's that was a great update from both of you. Lisa, I saw you raise your hand. My first comment before I forget, I didn't write it down. We don't have any public buildings open, so I don't expect we will in February. So I don't think this year would be a good year to have a display, even though that sounds so cool. And maybe I'd love to think about that. Hopefully it'll be in our minutes for next year. I think that would be a really cool thing to do, whether it's at the library or whether, City Hall or something, or the community center. But this year we don't have any of those buildings open, and I can't say when they're going to be. So, but the rest of it's awesome. So Lisa, go ahead.
So Sunil said something in his report, and it jogged. I just went online to just verify. I've never heard of National Women's Day. I'm familiar with International Women's Day. And so National Women's Day, as he mentioned, is on August 9th. International Women's Day is celebrated worldwide on March the 8th this year. So I guess I want clarity, and maybe Sarah can help identify which recognition of Women's Day are we planning to possibly promote.
Lisa, if I said National Women's Day, I was wrong. It is International Women's Day is what I was referring to. And I was under the impression it's on August 9th, 2021. But either way, it's in August, and I was referring to International Women's Day. And that's why it encompasses everyone from Africa and from other areas. So. And yeah, if I said national, I misspoke.
So August 9th is National Women's Day in South Africa.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Oh. So now you misspoke again. So take back what you just said.
No, I didn't know about that. That's really interesting.
That's what I'm referring. I'm just saying we also have another opportunity in August. That's all I wanted to refer to.
Great.
So along those lines, the Troy Interfaith Group is doing a live stream there on MLK Day. I just submitted a video for that. So that is something that we should definitely promote, I think, as well, or and at least individually, if not as a group. I just wanted to make sure that was out there as well. And then, Mavita, are you looking for just your subcommittee to meet the week of the 20th to 27th? That's what you're asking for? Okay. And that's you, me, and Carolina? Is anybody else? Can't remember.
There was another person, but I'm not quite sure who.
The minutes reference just us three. That's why I mentioned us.
Is it a?
But it doesn't, because we have to keep it small, right? So that's why I think we said the three of us.
Yeah, we talked about Mayor Pro Tem Brooks also being part of it. So I actually completely forgot to reach out to her. So I can make a note to do that to see if she wants to be part of that as well, and then include her in that.
Yeah,
okay.
I texted Dr. Teresa Brooks, and she said that she's totally on board.
Oh, great. Okay, great.
Pretty agreeable with that stuff. She's busy, but she can do it. So, okay. So you said the week of the 20th. So next week or
next week or the following. And it's just really for us to kind of hammer out who we want to invite to the panel, which again, that would go back through Sarah so we could have an official, hey, we would love to have you on this panel. These are the things we want to kind of explore or discuss. and we would love to have you, and this is the date. So we need to narrow down the date we want to have the panel to give us time to promote it, and actually who's going to be on the panel. So it's not really heavy lifting. It's just who do we want to identify? Who do we want to invite? When do we want to have it? How are we going to broadcast, stream it? How are we going to promote it? The end. So and then each week we could also, like I said, reach out and do that. Hey, let's get a video per week, or hey, we want to talk about Mae Jemison. Someone, loves Mae Jemison. They have knowledge and history, and she's an icon, and and we could do one or two people every week.
Okay.
And that just makes it simple. It kind of talks about it, because there's going to be so many Black History Month things going on. We are going to have Zoom fatigue. I am already in 4 other Black History group things. So everybody's jumping on it because we can't meet.
Well, why don't the 3 of us plus Sarah do email offline after the meeting and just schedule?
Okay.
I think that's probably easier. And then
that
Sarah
works.
Coordinate. Well, we'll go from there, but I think that's probably
Okay.
easier. Navita, since you're in charge, if you want to maybe start it off with proposing a few options that work for you.
Okay.
And then we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
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 So that, we'll get going with that, and we can give the committee as a whole any updates through Sarah via email after that. I think that makes sense. What else, Sarah, do you need us to, we should discuss, we've got other, for some reason my mind's a little bit foggy on what we decided to do next, and if we're doing it quarterly after this. We decided to make Black History Month kind of a standalone because it's a bigger entity, bigger deal that way. But where are we from moving forward?
So we didn't vote on anything, but I think like from our last conversation, the every quarter, doing one every quarter, and then giving information on what's to come and then what has happened in the past. I think that would be best for us, especially because everyone's got their jobs and everything. And I think Mavita said last time, just once a month would be too much. And I agree with that. So if that's fine with everyone, then we can just do the quarterly. And when we get closer to March, we'll start focusing on the next quarter.
Okay. So we don't need to discuss anything further with that for tonight.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, so then with the Black History Month, is there anything else we need, Mavita, you need from all of us tonight? Or do we need, Sunil, is the Charles Wright, they're not waiting, they're just waiting to hear from us for anything we want to do, right?
Yeah, I just need to circle back and let them know if you have any interest in talking to them, or we'll get back to them whenever. And if you want, I can just pass the contacts over. That the 2 of them, and I think now the president is also aware of it. So I think they're all aware that City of Troy has an interest in doing something. And just for your reference, they do a lot of things for the schools also. That seems to be another very common thing that a museum does.
Speaking of schools, does anybody here have kids at Athens by any chance, or Troy High even, or Allison? What's going on this year for MLK Day? Is anything happening virtually or?
So I've been checking my Schoology updates, and I haven't seen anything about MLK Day yet.
Same.
So yeah, I don't know.
But I did send an email with lots of events happening for Martin Luther King, and Sarah forwarded to the group.
Yes, I was just curious about the high school specifically. They normally do such a big production and have their.
Normally they do their the boxes and then they do the blankets, but since that requires to be in person with a lot of people, I'm thinking they're probably not going to be doing that this year.
I think they should rerun some of their video presentations from the past few years, though, because some of those have been really impactful. I'll tell them to. I'll reach out to them about that. I think that'd be a good idea. Okay. So, any other discussion or things about Black History Month, or are we pretty Danielle, I can see you starting. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
can I say something? Not for this, but for March 8th, the International Women's Day, after reading the notes from Sarah, yes, very good notes, I saw that I'm also in the committee for the International Day. Kathleen, the student, volunteered to be a lead, but I haven't heard from her, and of course the mayor was. I actually was working on some slides I want to share and maybe get one more volunteer in my team because we need to start working. March 8th is like coming. If we want to do it, of course, or combine it with spring traditions. But again, I want to hear your opinion. Can I share, Sarah, or the IT guys?
Yes, they should be able to help.
I can. Oh, I can share. Okay.
I think you can. Yeah.
Can you see? Okay. So I have some ideas, but again, I'm looking forward for feedback. So March 8th is the International Women's Day, celebrating social, economic, cultural, political achievements. Of course, this could be updated nicely. Cici Lin is someone that I recently met. She lives in Troy and she works in IT at GM. So she can talk about, artificial intelligence and, what's going on. Now they have new EV cars, something like this. Rebecca, everybody knows Rebecca. She can talk about women in local government. Like, I want to have women recognize or known or unknown in Troy that can talk about different areas. So Lisa, of course, our Lisa about non-for-profit, I know she has a lot of experience. Donate to women's nonprofits. Maybe Lisa can help with this. Do we have any women's nonprofit organizations in Troy? I don't know. Or even in Detroit. We can have a link for people to donate.
Or Pontiac.
Or Pontiac, yes, doesn't matter. That's why I'm looking for your feedback. Women musicians, book authors, film or artists. Again, this could be maybe the mayor can help. Do we have any women from Troy that are in this art area?
Sure we do. Yeah.
I'm sure we do, I just don't know. Or maybe the library can help. Sure. That's why I put the library. A restaurant or store owner by a woman. Like I know one, Sarah's Bakery, it's right next to my house, but she has been featured at many Troy's newsletters and stuff. I wish someone else, if not, I can go and talk with Sarah and Sarah's Bakery.
There's a lot of women-owned businesses in Troy. I mean, there's from large and small. I mean, so we certainly.
Okay, so can you help me?
If you feel like Sarah's overexposed, even though the bakery's overexposed, we certainly could do some. I mean, I meet them all the time, frankly. Well, when we're allowed to meet, I meet them all the time. But so I've met a lot over the past few years.
Okay, so can you help me with providing?
I sure could if that's what we need.
With a list, and I can contact them. Nikki, I forgot her last name. She's from Troy Community Center. Lisa, I think, knows about her. She's doing excellent cooking classes and also like gardening classes. So she can talk about flowers. Somewhere I saw that for the International Women's Day, the flower is mimosa, if I can say this correctly. So she can do a short presentation on flowers or what flowers to give women or something like this. I'm thinking I'll discuss with Nikki. And of course, library can tell us what kind of books and movies they have on Women's Day. So this is, and also I saw this as an idea, and I don't know if it's done already in Troy or not. So this is, we invite you to nominate a woman to receive the International Women's Day International Women's Day Woman of Excellence Award. So somebody that has done something loving, I would say maybe from the Children's Hospital, if we can find a woman, in these difficult times, maybe nominate. Or I don't know, have this as an open form on Troy's website. Is something like this have been done, Mayor?
I don't think it's been done specifically for this, but certainly the city of Troy, and there's the format's familiar. Cindy Stewart often handles these kind of.
Okay. So I can talk with Cindy but yeah, again, these are my suggestions for March 8th. And then March 1st, it's a spring tradition in Bulgaria. I think I mentioned this last time. So on March 1st, Bulgarians celebrate the whole month of March called Baba Marta. And we wear something like this on our clothes. And it means that we want spring to come sooner. And I think it's a great holiday for Michigan because it's gonna be still cold. Again, I'm still working on the slides. Also, it's the beginning of life, male and female. And also, last year with Bulgarian school, we wrapped some trees in front of the Balkan Center that is on 16 Mile and Rochester and John R. But now I'm thinking we can wrap a tree in front of the library, and hopefully by March 1st, at least people that go to and drop their books will see. And I also have a sign in English that explains the tradition. So that's all I have. Do you have any comments? And I'll take notes, or Sarah will take notes.
So I was going to say, you have a lot on your plate. So if you need help with anything, if I need to contact Nikki or anybody else, if you can just send me an email saying like, hey, this would be really helpful for you to help me with XYZ, I'm happy to do so. So just let me know on that. If you need help wrapping trees or anything like that, I could do that as well.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna involve the Bulgarian school, of course, the students and teachers. And it's gonna be outside, so hopefully we are allowed to do this, right? With masks and with everything.
Well, it depends on how many people, but yeah. We'll see. Things change so fast. I mean, we have to be really careful what we plan and do and everything. But I saw Allison and Lisa both had a hand up, but I didn't see who went up first. So
Lisa can go first.
Okay, thank you. So I'd be happy to help out with the International Women's Day in any way I can. And when I looked at your list, Daniela, of different types of women to maybe highlight, maybe somebody who's in medicine or medical and first responders like fire, police, and things like that might be, I don't know of anyone off the top of my head, but if we put it out there, maybe someone would come forward.
Good. Yeah. I would like to have a nurse or a doctor from Troy.
And I am, by the way, for anything to bring spring quicker.
Okay. Yes.
Allison?
Yeah, so there's an organization called She's the First, which is like, it's a global organization, but Troy High School has a chapter, and their goal is to like get girls education around the world and try to improve that equality. So that's another organization we can talk to, especially since there's a chapter at Troy High, so it could be like students can get involved too.
I think they actually sold cupcakes as a fundraiser at one of my mayor fundraisers, so they're a great organization. They're very cool. Very good.
Excellent. Thank you, Allison. Yes, definitely. We'll include them.
Well, I put it in the chat, but I really think the nomination form, I think that's a great way to engage the community. We don't know everybody that we don't know. So if I wanted to nominate my neighbor, she may not be on anybody's radar, but she might be a great mom. She might be a great neighbor. She might be, just cooking great meals or whatever, but it's a way in that month or in that month or on that day that we highlight women. And we could do those nominations probably like as a scrolling something or a slideshow, and people get to see that person in their community that is like, quote unquote, an unsung hero. Because we're all challenged during this time, and either it's going to bring out the best in you or the worst in you, but the community gets to decide who those fabulous women are. We don't. get to vote, because I don't know everybody in this community.
That's a great point. I would love to see that, and Sarah, I think that that's something that's got to be handled on the city's back end more, and I do think maybe engaging Cindy Stewart in that would be a good idea, because she would know how to do it from the city's perspective, and could help. Plus she has the power of the listserv for the city to send out things like that. So that makes sense to me that she'd be involved in something like that. That would be my recommendation. The other thing I thought of when you were talking about, you said we had women in local government, and I know Rebecca did a panel with Ann Erickson Gall and Representative Koopa earlier in the year. I would love to see maybe Councilmember Ellen Hoderick or even Edna Abraham, just because, I mean, Ellen's been on council for over 7 years now. I think she could really speak to a lot about women in local government, because for a while she was the only woman on Troy City Council. Now there's 5 of them, if you can imagine that. But yeah. So I just think that might be nothing against Rebecca, but might be a good avenue to explore. And I really like Ellen's perspective as being the only woman on council. And obviously we know there was some history in Troy as well with our city government. So that's just a thought I had. And I'm sure she'd do it, but I don't want to take anything away from Rebecca or anything else. I just thought that that could be a good addition.
Yes.
Allison.
Oh, when Medita was talking about like the unsung heroes, it kind of brought me to, we could also talk to teachers, because I know like they do a lot and it's really not recognized as much, especially with being virtual right now. And I know our schedules are always flip-flopping. We're going back to school and then we're virtual and then we're going back to school, and it's just really crazy. So that's another, educators is another area we could talk to.
I agree. I completely agree.
Definitely.
Thank you. Nice, good suggestion. Yes, I agree.
So the question that I have, okay, I need to take a step back from an administrative standpoint. It sounds like we're doing a separate focus for International Women's Day, not necessarily including that in a quarterly thing of things that have happened or to celebrate, right? Which I just want to make sure we're all clear on that, which is fine. I think we should, but I think that what we're going to find as a group is that as we move throughout the year, there's going to be things that are, I don't want to say more important to some of us than others, but there's going to be more things we're more passionate about that we're going to want to take a hold of. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as we also find a way to recognize other maybe underrepresented celebrations during that quarter that happens. So I can see us blending this kind of, and we're already kind of naturally doing that, I think. So I just a comment, I think.
I agree with you, Mayor. Maybe, Sarah, if you can pull out the list with events by month. I forgot, is there something in April or May that we can include? I forgot, really, so.
The only thing I think of is Easter.
Yes, but Easter is religious a holiday. Not everyone celebrates Easter, so. I don't think we can do a whole event for Easter, but we can do it for women, because like, look at how many of us are in the committee.
Yeah, and you know, what came to mind as you were speaking, Mayor Baker, is I think initially it was so daunting to see a list of things like, oh my God, that's 700 events we have to throw. But I think in some of these things, we can talk about cultural things. We can, we can talk about, even in that nomination form, we can do that. What are some of the traditions that your family celebrates that, that woman that you love, is a part of or something. So we can integrate some of those elements as we're talking about different things, because even for that quarter, if we talk about the whole 3 months, it could be someone who celebrates a certain holiday in January, but they still could be nominated and still could say, what are some of the traditions that you've celebrated from January to, we just have to craft the form to incorporate everybody's passions, if we want to say it like that, so that everybody's represented.
Good point. Okay.
Don't want to be politically incorrect, but if we want to say your nationality or your ethnicity, what are some of the, so that they know that it is a global diversity type of thing. We're trying to get diverse voices in this spreadsheet, PowerPoint, however we want to do it. Because like to Danielle's point, everybody doesn't celebrate Easter. Everybody doesn't celebrate Kwanzaa. I'm an African-American woman. I don't celebrate Kwanzaa. My mom does. So it could just be families that do different things. So I think that's the better way of saying what are some traditions that you all have celebrated from January to now, or, whatever, that way.
Good point. Okay.
So I was just going to ask, I think that's a great idea. Would we just seek people out or ask people if they want to participate in this, and then we can do the videos and maybe compile them kind of like we did in December? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Okay. Anything else about upcoming events that we need to discuss this evening? Allison?
Something just came to me, but when we were talking about videos, you can also be like, what does spring mean to you? And that could also cover some of their traditions and how they see spring and what do they look forward to. I don't know, it just popped into my head.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, we did the winter holiday traditions. I mean, spring, I'm sure it could be done seasonally that way, actually, and would help encompass some things. Again, it's about getting people's voices that we don't always necessarily hear from, which is the challenge always, but I think we can do that. All right, any other action items on this tonight that we need to worry about? Daniela, do you feel, Lisa said she would help out for sure. We've got some direction with Sarah and working with the city on some of those things. And what else do you need from us tonight and before it's another month before we meet?
We'll let you know. Thank you, Lisa.
Emails work fine too. Just remember, don't reply all and send them to Sarah, and Sarah can send out as necessary. Oh, it's good. We're pretty good about that. But okay, well, then the next item on the regular business agenda is the discussion regarding Global Troy Advisory Committee name change. And there was a memo in here. Sarah, I'll hand it back over to you, but I think you'll just say what the memo says probably.
Yeah, it's just really, really short. We were just going to continue our conversation from our last meeting. And I do have a couple of suggestions that some committee members have sent me. And then we could just go ahead and talk about if you all have any other suggestions, maybe we can kind of come up. Or, if something just pops into our head, maybe we'll figure it out that way.
Always dangerous. But
yeah.
Well, let's, if you want to, I'll just go back to as a quick reminder for anybody who's tuning in tonight who didn't know, we brought up the idea of potentially whether or not it was a good idea to change the name of Global Troy Advisory Committee to something that maybe represents a little more of what we're trying to do as it relates to diversity and unity and coming together as a community. And someone had said, I don't remember who, but Global Troy sometimes sounded more like a business organization than what I think our stated purposes and goals are in this committee. Although talking to my wife today, she loves it when I talk about her without telling her that I'm going to, she said actually she likes the Global Troy name. To her, when she thinks of global, she always thinks about it encompassing everybody. That's how she thinks of it, as opposed to more of a geographical aspect of it. To her, it was like a global meaning altogether. So there you go. Wouldn't be the first time I maybe was interpreting something a different way. But Sarah, if you want to start with any suggestions that anybody had, or if anybody has any comments that they've thought about now that they want to start with, that's fine too.
So I have 3 name possibilities that were sent to me. So the first one is Troy Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Advisory Committee, which I really like that belonging piece of that. I think that's great. The Troy Diversity Advisory Committee, and then Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council.
What was the second one again? I'm sorry.
The Troy Diversity Advisory Committee.
That would be TDAC.
Yeah.
Acronyms are so important right now. All right.
The last one would be tied, Troy Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Council. I know that's crazy, tied, but still.
We'd probably get sued for trademark violations. Let's be honest. I'm kidding.
Or just Troy Diversity and Inclusion. With that said, Mayor, if I can say, I actually also like Global Troy. And I always thought it's, for everybody. But then at work and other places, everybody is talking about diversity and inclusion, diversity and inclusion. So is there a diversity and inclusion committee in Troy or something like that? No?
No, there's not. And obviously anything we propose here as far as a name change would have to be approved by council. And I'm not so sure putting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the title of this committee is necessarily the right course right now as we wait to see how our city budget and what we plan to do as far as whether or not we hire a consulting firm or an employee that's focused primarily on that. I wouldn't want to change the name of a committee to something that may be a little ahead of its skis, if that makes sense, until we know a little bit more what the city is doing. Although we're just an advisory committee here, and we're putting forth that idea to city council, it would be up to council to make that decision. That said, that seems to be the big focus of what this committee does. As far as what we're trying to show in the city of Troy, and it seems to me it comes up a lot. I don't know the answer to this, but I'm throwing it out there. I don't know if the DEI language is losing some of its value as it gets used a lot. Seems like I hear a lot more of it now. In the beginning when it wasn't as commonly used, and now that you see other cities and organizations all hiring their DEI experts, I guess maybe that makes it a little more mainstream. So maybe it's the opposite of what I'm thinking about. I don't want it to look like we are what's the word I'm looking for? Jumping on a bandwagon or something. To me, it's, this committee's existed long before, frankly, everyone was talking about DEI stuff. And so I don't want to take away from the hard work that this committee and the committee members who are here long before me have done. And I also, forgive me, I don't want to make it too political either. Or even give it the option of having someone make it political. So those are my initial thoughts on that. That said, I don't know who brought forward those name suggestions. I think it's great. I'm glad that somebody did, because I sat and thought I can't think of anything other than, the same words over and over again. And it doesn't do a lot of good, but that I just threw out some stuff. Anybody else want to comment on that? Or
it's still a good name, and it's kept short and broad. It can cover a lot of things and not so specific. Like a specialties for something. It's basically the advisory. Including all kind of voice from Troy City, and that's kind of basic stuff we want to including.
Okay, appreciate that. Lisa and then Allison.
So I know when I was a Troy School District parent, there was a council called the Troy School District Inclusion and Diversity Council. Just throwing that out there. When I was trying to come up with some name changes, suggestions, I wrote down the words diversity, multicultural, and inclusion. So all of the suggestions that Sarah read are in line with what I was thinking, but I would have to agree with your wife, Mrs. Baker, that I do like the name Global Troy Advisory Committee. We haven't, as a committee, done a whole lot of advising to any groups or individuals, but the potential is there. And I think we are a good collection of Troy residents to provide advising on, diversity and inclusion topics.
Allison,
Yeah, I wanted to agree with you that I feel like DEI almost sounds a bit corporate. And I feel like it goes in the opposite direction of what we're here to do, which is about the community. So I felt like that was like kind of two different directions almost. And then I forgot what the full first option suggestion was, but I like the word belonging as well. I did think it was a very long mouthful. And I think the name should also be kind of short and sweet.
Yeah, I agree. I like belonging in that as well. And Mavita had just said in our chat that maybe it's marketing and branding, which actually I was going to say as well, that, maybe it's us needing to get more information about what we're planning to do and what we've done and what the future, like what's to come in the future from us, so that people are more aware of what we're doing. Because there are a lot of like Global Detroit, there is a Global Michigan that I've been talking, there's like 5 globals, and a lot of the time they are focused on just economic development is like their main focus, but we can be different. It doesn't matter. Like as long as we get our name out there and tell people what we are going to be doing and what we've done, I think that's probably the main thing that we should focus on.
For sure.
Oh, something just popped into my head. We could also talk about like, or if we do change our name, it could include like cultural diversity, just to like kind of separate it from like the corporate world, or maybe like have the word awareness in it. I don't know.
Good. Carolina, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I'm really okay with the name that we have. I think that we could maybe promote our mission statement a little bit more and even come up with like a logo or something like that if we want to do more branding, but I'm perfectly okay with the name that we have right now.
Sometimes it takes a discussion about this to realize what you already have is good. So keep that in mind. I'm fully prepared to accept that. I also think, it goes back to, and I brought it up at our council meeting on Monday night. Again, we want a joint meeting with council. Mavita, you gotta go. And do you have any parting words? I know you gotta go right now. Is there anything else you need to say, or just
you guys are amazing. Keep up the good work, and I'll keep you posted. My uncle is like 78. He has pneumonia and COVID, so we can't really go see him. Only one person, so we have to talk about what we're gonna do.
Oh, yeah, you and he have my prayers. Bless you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, thank you. Kind of a reminder of where we're at in this world, right? Here we are talking about other stuff. So I brought it up again Monday night, talking about a joint meeting, and we have to get it scheduled, and they're trying to prioritize in the city manager's office which joint meetings have to happen by certain deadlines for funding and certain things. But I know that it's high on Sarah's list to make sure Mark and Bob schedule this joint meeting.
We're actually talking about it tomorrow. That was going to be one of my.
There you go. Well, I think, I don't think it's a bad idea to have this discussion, as we want to talk with city council about what city council wants this advisory committee to advise on. If the name issue comes up at all. Remember, this started for me when I saw that Sterling Heights was forming a new committee called the Sterling Heights, I think, Community Alliance, with the unity and community highlighted, right? And I thought, well, I like the alliance, and I like the community, and I like the unity, and I think that's a lot about what we do in this committee. So that's what got my mind spinning. But so maybe we just table this idea for another time based on what we hear from what City Council is looking for the committee to do, what we propose to City Council that we're doing. We're off to a good start, I think, with the holiday traditions. Now we're moving to Black History Month. We've got the International Women's Day coming and the other spring traditions. I think that we are, in spite of having no direction from City Council, we're doing a great job. So I think the holiday traditions was very well received in the community, and I know several council members that I spoke to about it really enjoyed it. So I think that so far so good. But unless there's anything else anyone wants to say about a name change or not name change right now, we can just table that. Anything else? Okay. Well, that concludes what we have on the agenda for regular business. Next up would be other business. I just mentioned the fact that Sarah mentioned that they're talking tomorrow about planning joint meetings and things like that. I think that's important. One of the things that I used to love about Global Troy before I was on the committee, and even when I first started, is the opportunity for different members to talk about some of their diversity stories or background information. I'm not giving it justice very well right now what it is, but I know that you used to talk a little bit about, or at each meeting someone would take an opportunity to share something. And I don't know if there's anybody, or maybe Lisa or Danielle, you can explain to Allison and anybody else and Sunil more about what that specific tradition was for these meetings. That would be great, because I'm not doing it justice. But if one of you would kind of explain what used to happen, I think that would be a good tradition we could bring back to these meetings if possible. You're both muted, so no one wants to do it. Lisa unmuted. There you go.
Okay, so we usually selected a person to speak at the next meeting, so they were prepared to share something. And the best part of meeting in person was because they often shared some treats from their cultural background. But you know, we have had some of our Global Troy Advisory Committee members bring like a slideshow or a some sort of visual with their story. Often it was how their family came to be in the United States or in Michigan or in Troy. And we've learned a lot of very interesting things from some of our past and current Global Troy Advisory Committee members by doing that. So yeah, it was a nice time to share and get to know each other a little bit better.
I know we're meeting virtually now, so it's a little different, but the beautiful thing about doing it virtually is that these are captured for other people to see at a later time. So maybe if someone who did one a couple of years ago wanted to do another one at the next meeting or something, I would be all for that if possible. I look at the couple of you that were here a few years ago and probably have done them already. But I don't know. It's up to you guys. It was just kind of my thought. I really liked what I heard about that meeting tradition. Daniela, I saw you unmuted.
Yes, I would like to see it happening again. I also learned a lot of stuff about our members. And also the idea was to do these presentations for city employees, not just for the committee, but for city employees, right? Some kind of lunch and learn event.
That's right.
I don't know if we can do it again.
Well, as long as we're meeting virtually, we can't do it in person, but we can certainly package the YouTube video and the link and share and have maybe some city employee viewing opportunities. I know it's a little different. It's not interactive, but it's at least it's something.
Yes, my idea was to be interactive. Then there is an effect, much bigger effect. And yeah, could be lunch and learning about Italy. Of course, you're going to talk about food and, you know, which places to visit, and then they can ask questions. I think this will make it more interesting for the people. If you ask them to watch a movie, YouTube, I mean, everyone can go and Google Italy. No, that's not the same. But if you have a real person talking about, it's different.
Good point. Well, then we just need to get to a point where we can meet in person again.
No, even if it's online, but to be.
I guess it could be interactive this way. It still doesn't seem the same.
I usually make my presentations interactive with even questions, asking questions, giving presents. But because next February is the Chinese New Year, I would suggest Allison to do a presentation on China, and Tom. Or Tom.
I'll be very honest. My family does not celebrate Chinese New Year as heavily as we would like.
Okay, what about Tom?
Yes, we can do something.
Okay, well, there we go. We have a commitment. Very good. Thanks, Tom. All right, well, Sarah, you can work with Tom to coordinate that, and I'll help whatever you need. We'll figure it out. All right. Any other business? Thoughts, comments, Lisa?
I just wanted to give everyone an update that the Troy Family Days Festival is going to have their first meeting this year virtually. on Tuesday, March the 2nd, and I was invited as part of their International Day chairperson. So I will be planning on attending.
Okay.
And the festival is slated to happen on September 16th through the 19th. And I would assume that International Day might be that Sunday, September 19th. But I'll find out more on March the 2nd.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, just making notes of something.
No.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have a few things that I just want to, because just from the past meeting. So Lisa, we talked about the, maybe having the guidelines for participation for like the videos and things like that. Does anybody already have guidelines like that, maybe from events that they've participated in or anything like that? I was trying to write some up and I was like, I don't even really know how to do it correctly. So maybe if somebody else wanted to take the lead on that.
I can send
We
you
have
some.
to see if I have some too, or Daniela.
Yeah.
But I do too many projects. I probably have some kind of guidelines somewhere.
Because I think that would be helpful.
I'll send you something too.
Okay, and then we can just all have it for when people participate in our events. They can, follow those. That'll be helpful. Let me see what else. I am still putting together the contacts list from the Winter Holidays Traditions and the Troy Days participants. So if there's any other like spreadsheets or anything or contacts that you have that you'd like to share with me, please do so. Let me see what else.
Excuse me, Sarah. Can you send it to us? So when I see it, I'll see if the ones that I know are on the list or not.
Okay.
I did send Sarah the 2017, 18, and 19 contact list of people that we actually had perform. But I know we had another list, and I'm still trying to find it, when Mavita, Nas, Daniela, and I were the committee. And it was a really nice, large list of more contacts than we could ever know what to do with. And I haven't been able to find it. It was not electronic, though. It was a piece of paper. So I'm still trying to find it. So maybe if Daniela, if you could look for it, and I can ask Mavita and Naz if they could look through their binder and see if they might be able to find it.
Okay, and then I think the last thing that I wanted to, or no, there was two other things. So the spring Troy Today, I know that we had talked about putting some of our events in the Troy Today or having them advertised there. I know that's not happening right now. We're still trying to kind of focus on what we're doing and kind of getting that panned out. It makes things a little bit more difficult when we're, not in person. But I did get the dates for when all of that material needed to be submitted. So when we get to that point, we decide like we're going to start advertising our partnered events with other groups and things like that. We can do so in the Troy Today. And then the last thing that I had is I met with, I don't know if you all know what the Human Library is. Have you all heard of that? Anybody? No. Okay. So basically what it is it's an organization that's, it was developed in Denmark, and they're finally making their way over to the States. And I actually knew about it because when I was in college, one of the girls that was in my program was working with the organization in Denmark to develop a human library in our public library in Fayetteville. And basically what it is you check out a book, but the book is a person. And this person is basically vetted and trained to be so for instance, someone would sit across the table from you, and if you were the book, the person opposite of you would ask you questions, and based off your experience, you could tell them, how your life has been, your culture, background, things like that. And it's just kind of a way to break down stigma, barriers, things like that. And I thought it's very much new, but I wanted to talk to them just to see if we got if we partnered with them and started doing this in Troy with the Troy Public Library, maybe it could be really beneficial. We talk about education, and I think this would be a really powerful way to educate everyone, because you don't know what you don't know. And meeting people and hearing their stories and just, sitting down and talking to them really, I think it's really beneficial. Like, you learn a lot from people that way. And so, anyway, I just thought that was kind of fun that I got to talk to them. And we're talking about maybe that's something that the group could do in collaboration with them and the Troy Public Library. If we were all interested, it would take a while to get set up. But there's going to be more information to you all later on that. I just kind of wanted to tell you that I had talked to them this morning about it, and it seems very interesting. And they also have a couple of launches happening in the States. So if anyone is interested in that, I can send you the information on like where you can see what they're doing and get more of a better understanding of what it actually is. I can send that out, but I just wanted to let you know about that.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else tonight? Allison?
So I remember back in November, we talked about doing something with like small businesses and like promoting that or something. I don't know if that's something we still want to, I feel like that should be something we still like think about. So I just wanted to bring that back up again.
Lisa.
I wanted to thank Mayor Baker for his statement that was posted on Monday about the events that happened a week ago in our nation's capital.
Thank you.
Thanks for pointing out. I didn't know that. I'll check them out. That's good.
It's been a wild time, and we're here. We're trying to do the business of the city, and we've got a lot of other things that are being thrown at us that are overwhelming. And yet, I reminded how a lot of people people have, as much as we get tied up in everything that's going on in Washington, there are daily struggles here right in our own city and things that are happening too. So it's a very weird balancing act, and you find people that are at both times horrified by what's happening nationally, and also people who are not even that dialed in, believe it or not, because they're worried about how they're going to pay their rent this month, or what's happening with the pandemic, or if families in the hospital with COVID. I mean, it's a very strange time. So I usually wouldn't talk about this here, but mental health, remember, please, is so important. And there's a lot of resources out there to help people. But suicide is a very real and scary thing, and it happens even here in beautiful Troy. And we need to always be willing to help somebody, or just check in on somebody. So I'll make that plea to everybody. If you know somebody who maybe is having a hard time, it never hurts to just check in. You never know when that check-in can save their life or really make a difference. So just want to always remind people of that. But thank you for bringing up the statement. Appreciate that. And anyone else? Anything else? We're like I said, I think we're off to a good start with this committee this year, and coming out of last year. And I appreciate everybody for being so quick to volunteer, to head subcommittees, and Sunil, all of that information you got from the Charles Wright Museum. That was a great job. Thank you with that. And Daniela, you came with a slide presentation tonight that none of us were expecting. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So, and Lisa, you've done so much for this committee over the years already. I mean, you've probably done a lifetime's work of volunteering on this committee in a couple of years. So really great stuff. And Sarah, thank you for jumping right in. You started a new job and came right in as a staff liaison, and you seem to be very well engaged and understanding exactly what this group's about. And I think that's going to be a good thing for the city. So thank you. I forgot, is there any public comment this evening?
There wasn't, no, but public comment can be submitted at gtacpubliccomments@troymi.gov and through voicemail at 248-524-3567.
All right. As long as we're meeting virtually, that's the way it's going to be. So I guess that's it this evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you all. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. All right.
Thank you. Good night.